The Last of Us Part 2 was by far my most anticipated game of this year, and perhaps even one of my most anticipated games of all time. This is not a surprise since the original The Last of Us was simply a masterpiece when it came to game development. But how does The Last of Us Part 2 stack up against its predecessor? Well, it's hard to tell. I definitely need to play this game again for a more accurate review, but from what I got from my first playthrough, is that the gameplay and graphics are simply amazing, but the story, well, I'll let Owen tell you what he thinks about it.
I know it's a fucking mess. I know.
Now let me start with the positive. I had a ton of fun playing this game. The gameplay loop remained very similar to the first game. The protagonist looks for supplies and then levels up her weapons. These can be found in obvious enough places and also in completely optional saves throughout the game. These are by far the most fun aspect of exploring the game, as you need to look for notes that tell you what the combination is, or even look for clues in the level. With these supplies you can create the usual Molotov cocktails, medical packs, and smoke bombs. New additions like the silencer for your gun and explosive arrow tips are welcome additions. Naughty Dog also added a prone mechanic and a dodge button for melee combat that really adds to the thrill of killing the infected and the WLF. I honestly don't have an issue with the gameplay of this game. I would even go as far as to say that it's better than the first game. But the story, well, that's what Naughty Dog disappointed me with, mainly because I really didn't understand its pacing. Let's start with the most controversial moment in the game.
Joel, get up. Joel, fucking get up. Please stop! Please don't do this! Joel, please get up! No! No!
Looking back at this, I have to say that what Naughty Dog did to Joel was purely disrespectful. I'm not against killing off a beloved protagonist in any game, but it has to be done right. Sarah's death in the first game was done way better, and she isn't that much of an important character to begin with. Much like Sarah, I feel like we should have been allowed to play with Joel for the start of the game, and maybe have a few emotional scenes with him before his death. Like the moment when Joel told Ellie he would do it all over again. That scene was gold, but it was wasted at the end. Now, a lot of people understandably stopped playing the game right there. I decided to give Naughty Dog a shot at redeeming its story, and for the first half of it, I had no problems with it. Ellie goes to Seattle to kill the people who murdered Joel, and along the way she learns that vengeance isn't that promising. The story was simple, but good enough. My problem comes with the second half of it. Halfway through the game, Naughty Dog tries to pull a Tarantino-esque move by making me play with Abby, the person who killed one of my favorite characters ever. Why did they think this was a good idea? Imagine if you were playing God of War, and halfway through Santa Monica makes you play as Boulder. Even though this would be a bad idea, it would still be better than playing with Abby, since Boulder is a much more interesting character than her. The only character trait that Abby has is that she's afraid of heights. That's another thing. The character development took a huge step back. It seemed to me like I was playing one of those cheesy Spanish soap opera. Ellie's in love with Tina, but she's pregnant with Jesse's kid. Owen likes Abby, but he's having a baby with Mel. This doesn't seem to bother him, as he hints at a possible polygamous relationship for the three of them. It's just horny people making dumb choices. It just seemed like Naughty Dog wanted to have a diverse cast for the sake of being diverse. In the first game you would get characters like David the Cannibal, Bill the hardcore survivalist who's slowly going insane, Henry, brother to Sam, who would go to any lengths to protect his younger brother, even if it meant letting Joel die. These are interesting characters. A guy that only says pendejo throughout this story is not. However, I should say that there are some good story moments the fans of the first game should experience. Like the flashback to the time when Joel took Ellie to a science museum, or even finding out the motivations for Abby's desire to kill Joel. Moments like this are not as abundant as they should have been, and even feel like they weren't placed properly in the story. Look, I don't know much about storytelling, but I shouldn't force myself to go looking for reasons to like this story. All I know is that the first game story was simple, but beautiful. Two characters that hate each other embark on a journey to save humanity, and along the way they begin to love each other like father and daughter. On the other hand, this is what we got in The Last of Us Part 2. Anyway, I'm getting tired of talking about this game, so let me wrap up what I think of the story. At the end, Ellie goes to live with Tina and Jesse's kid, but because she still has nightmares about Joel's death, she decides to go after Abby again, leaving Dina and her kid behind. Once she gets to Abby, she realizes that vengeance is not worth it, and she lets Abby go. So at the end, Ellie didn't get her vengeance, nor the happy life with Tina. In conclusion, it really is a tragedy what happened to this game. This would have been Game of the Year for me if the story was any good. But sadly, bad pacing, uninteresting characters, and freaking Joel's death got in the way of most of my enjoyment. If I were to give this game a score, I would give it an 8 out of 10. This may seem like it's too generous, but I have to be honest and say that I had a lot of fun with the combat and just looking at amazing details.
Maybe. Fuck you.
Oh man, look at that. Look at the detail. Look at that. Look at the ice. Check this out. Oh my god, this game is beautiful. I could do this all day. Anyway, let me know what you guys thought about this game in the comment section below. Whether you hated, loved it, or you're somewhere in between like me, I want to know. With that said, thanks for watching, and remember, go forth in the name of Olympus.